Good afternoon. Today is Monday, May 8th, 2023. It is 5 p.m. and we are here for the regular trustee meeting. If we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have an agenda before us. Are there any modifications or additions we need to make to this agenda?
I move to excuse Mrs. Dean from today's regular trustee meeting and approve the agenda as presented.
Double second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
I move to accept the general ledger report in the amount of $345,495.09 for the May 3rd, 2023 payroll.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
I move to accept the payment listing reports in the amount of $760,690.80 for warrants through 5/4 of 2023.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes. At this point, we have minutes from our regular trustee meeting on April 24th, 2023. Are there any changes or additions? If not, we have a motion to approve.
I move to adopt the minutes for the April 24th, 2023 regular trustee meeting as presented.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes. This time, we open the podium up to any citizens desiring to speak. You have 3 minutes. This time, seeing none, we'll close that. We'll move on. We have no old business, so we'll move on to new business and to the administrator, Mr. Rushing.
Thank you, Trustee Kratz. In anticipation for the upcoming designation of National Police Week next week, we have some proclamations for you. The first is a proclamation designating May 14th through May 20th as National Police Week. We do have 4 copies plus a 5th copy for the resolution book. The 4 copies are for the Greene County Sheriff's Office, Greene County Park Rangers, Beavercreek City Police, and the Ohio State Highway Patrol. So I'll pass this along, but there'll be 4 copies to sign, please.
Thank you.
If you would like, you can read the entire in the record, or you can read it by title as it was included in the packet.
I'll make a motion to proclaim designation May 14th through May 20th as National Police Week, resolution number 202-30508-admin-E, and as presented.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes. And pass along, please, our gratitude for their service to the community, putting themselves in the line of fire verbally and physically, and everything they deal with on behalf of all of us,
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
as well as support that COPP provides to the township.
Next item we have is a proclamation to honor our 220th anniversary of Beavercreek Township. It's in the packet. It can be passed as presented or read into the record, whatever it's the option of the board.
Make a motion, resolution number 202-30508-admin-F, in honor of the 220th anniversary of Beavercreek Township, Greene County, Ohio proclamation. And I will keep it as presented.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Thank you, board.
Mr. Rushing, question for you on the minutes. Do you want me to sign, or do you want to leave these for Mrs. Dean to sign?
You may sign as you're the acting chair. You can just scratch out Mrs. Dean's name and put your own. Thank you. Thank you, board. Next on our agenda is the monthly report for our substation. Sergeant Kessel is here to answer any questions. Before you is the monthly report.
I had no questions.
I have none on this report, thank you.
Thank you.
Any points of awareness or anything that we need to have as far as what might be coming up event-wise or construction traffic-wise?
Trustee Kretz, I do have a meeting with the ODOT official tomorrow concerning the soccer tournament coming up, so
Good.
we're gonna discuss that and some of the signage.
Okay.
That's really the only update I have.
And then, so we still have the special deputies that'll be assigned, and what constitutes a special deputy? So who is a special deputy? What were they, or what were they?
Typically, it could be retired personnel from other agencies. Also could be fresh cadets coming out of the academy.
Okay.
It's really just a one-on-one with the sheriff, and he decides whether or not they're specials or not.
Okay. Are they volunteer or are they compensated?
They're compensated on details, but they're not. They are voluntary, so they're not paid by the county.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Could you, I didn't think about this, could you announce to the citizens that are listening about the road closure on by Trayvine this week?
On Trayvine Valley,
Correct.
sure. The ODOT project, they will be closing the turn lane from Valley as you went westbound on 35. It's not going to be able to turn left or south on Valley. That's going to be closed from this point forward. So I have to go down and hit the Super Street, turn back around to go south on
Just
Valley.
make the loop, okay.
It's part of the
So if
project.
you're heading to the airport, essentially, you're coming from Xenia, you have to go to the loop and go around.
That's right.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next is our Human Resources report. Ms. Gustafson is on Teams to answer any questions you may have, and before you is her monthly report for Human Resources.
I had one question, and that was, what does SL mean for SL issue? Is that a person's initials?
That's sick leave. No, that means sick leave, just an
Oh,
abbreviation.
sick leave, okay. I couldn't figure that one out. Thank you.
Any awareness
welcome.
items, Ms. Gustafson, as far as insurance or any other issues that we need to contend with?
Not-
Pre-plan for?
Not presently. For insurance, I won't be doing the census data until probably August.
Okay.
So we have a little bit of time for that.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
Thank you, Board. Next is Community Development and Risk, and Fire Marshal Grogan is here. I think first item of business is to schedule a zoning commission case.
Please. Yep, I think you have a sample motion on the bottom of our first page.
Okay, I move to schedule a hearing, I make a motion for resolution number 202-30508-ZC-A. I move to schedule a hearing to consider the recommendation from zoning commission case number 833 following the regularly scheduled trustee meeting on May 22nd, 2023.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Just a couple little updates. Community Plan went through its last zoning commission work session on the 20th, and we had the final steering committee meeting on the 25th. So we have some upcoming events, some tentative upcoming events. Final plan will be brought to the zoning commission in June, and then the latest will be the trustees to present it to you in July. We're expecting end of June, but we're projecting out to July. And then a couple other little notes. We did have two positions that got vacated, administrative professional position. Carolyn has left us, and then also part-time fire safety inspector. And so Ms. Gustafson is helping us to pursue replacements for those. And I'm available for any other questions.
I just had comments on that, I want to on your zoning department, thank our staff for, you had 5 cases that you were going towards a prosecutor, and I know that takes a lot of time and energy. And it's also difficult for our staff to deal with the citizens that are going to be prosecuted. So I do also want to thank them for the diligence of keeping up with those, the zoning regulations and moving things forward.
Sure. They work hard, the team works hard on trying to resolve everything prior to any additional action. Maybe we take a little extra time, but we're trying to resolve it, and sometimes it just gets to that next level. So yeah, thank you very much. I'll let them know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next is information technology. The monthly report's in front of you. I believe a member of Paragon staff is here this evening, answer any questions if you have any.
I had no questions.
I had none at this point, so I appreciate it. Thanks for the detail.
Thank you, Board. Moving right along, we go to our finance department. Mrs. Molden is here to answer any questions you may have on her monthly report.
I did have a comment, and as soon as we get there, I'll
Let me know if you want me to scroll down more.
yeah. Right there. I just want to thank you for, on the grants update. I really did appreciate reading through, seeing how much the grant was, how much the expenditures were, what was left over, what wasn't spent. So I appreciated those numbers and being able to see that in one comprehensive view. So thank you.
Thank you.
My question's cemetery related, but I'll wait for the road department, so thank you.
Thank you, Board. Moving on to public service. First item is library interest, and Mr. Parks is here to present that and answer any questions.
Yes, this has been an ongoing issue with the library probably for better than 5 years. What happens is people come in the current entrance and they'll go left, which puts pedestrians in harm's way along with library staff. In-house, we have tried restriping, adding arrows, moving some stuff around as far as the drop boxes. It's still happening. So the stakeholders kind of met, and the next logical step is to get a design to move this project forward. And see where we land from there, if we can even do it. I mean, we need to have the topography done, and the stakeholders have met with Choice One and kind of given them our vision of what it should look like. And this is just enter into that initial phase of get a design and a tentative cost before we move forward any further. So
I had some questions on the picture. Is there any room on the west side of the building to make a driveway, or is that pretty tight on?
it's very tight.
I thought it was,
Plus there's a big hill drop off there.
okay. My only comment would be that no matter how they design it, I know we'll have final authority on it, but that keep the book drop on the left-hand side somehow, so that people can pull their car up.
The driver.
The driver can,
Right, and one of the quick ideas that came out of Choice One was that first flower bed in the center. Place the 2 drop boxes there with some modifications so that staff can get in and out. So you still have to come in, go around, and hit the drop boxes. It's also been talked about on the exit. Once again, we don't know how much room we'll need of doing an exit and then also doing a drop. If you wanted to drop your books, you pull up. you drop them off and then get into the exit lane to go out.
That could be. I just know that many citizens commented and were very happy to have it on the driver's door to drop off instead of getting out of the car and walking around and dropping it in. So I want to keep that. I didn't realize we had so much space though onto the east side of that parking lot.
Well,
Oh,
a
there
lot of
is-
that is right of way for Library Lane that goes back and kind of curves in.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, we've included the city as one of our stakeholders, so they can have their input into the process.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm ready.
I'm sorry, I have to say it. So it seems like a whole lot of money that you could just put in a right-in only. So a right-in, right-out. You could drop in a concrete triangle, put your parking spaces on a 15-degree angle, and make it a right-in, right-out only, and put your drop box. I do a lot of drive-through designs in another life, as far as for retail and for QSRs. And so if you look at this as a drive-through lane concept, and determine how many cars stacking you want, which is how many cars backed up to potentially to the drop box, and how those cars would impact cars that are parked there trying to back out. If you put the spaces on angles, you almost force them to follow a pattern. They don't back out and then go the wrong way usually. So at least in fast food situations they don't. But a right in, right out only would solve your left turn in to take the shortcut.
Right. Well, part of what they do currently is there is a drop box on the back of the building.
Right. You have to get out of your car for that one though, correct?
Well, no, they don't get out of their car is the problem.
They pull
They
up,
Oh, really?
pull up to it.
On the
On the
patio.
pavement?
On the-
That's a
yeah.
bullard can stop that. But,
Yeah, but that's kind of what, when we're up there plowing in the winter, we back drag all that to take some of the pressure off their staff of clearing all that walkway.
yeah, and unless well, then you have to pick which is the lesser of two evils, either snow blowing or shoveling that, or dealing with cars pulling up, because a curb might stop them, but a bullard is the only way to truly stop them from pulling up there.
Right. And that's one of the ideas we've talked about of adding those kind of things. And then there's from the picture you can see, there's a flower bed. Right now it's got some trees and daylilies in it, of taking that completely out and getting some additional parking. That's the other big thing with Beavercreek being probably the busiest of the Greene County libraries. Parking becomes an issue.
And I don't recall, is this GIS that you have, or that's just the picture from the packet?
Just a picture from the back.
So the topo on the east side of the building, the west side, but, I don't know, it just, like I said, it seems like a right in, right out would be a very simple solution. Doesn't add any more spaces. If you want to add more spaces, you've got room to do it, depending on topo and utilities that are in your way, but,
I can't say I disagree. However, I can tell you the last modification we made up there, there's a double yellow line that goes from Library Lane all the way up almost into the back of one of those parking spaces, with an arrow that goes this way and an arrow,
yeah.
and they still,
Right, yeah, right now they can back straight out. That's a suggestion, and an engineer can figure that out better than I can. But if you kick those on 15 or 20-degree angle and force them to back out at an angle, it'd be rare that they would back out and go south instead of go north.
well, and that's one of the things, like I said, we're in the initial phase of this, of trying to get some of those ideas on the table, and that's something we can bring up.
Okay, and my only comment is from the dollar, we spent $11,000 to design that. Seems extensive compared to what the cost is to design a small plat.
So do you want to work with him on that and try your,
I'm not an engineer, so.
And I'm not either, to be honest with you.
Those
We have
are
done
just-
everything
those
in
are
our
just
control.
suggestions, yeah, those are just suggestions just to throw out. try to at least keep the cost in line.
Well, what that will do, if that is a feasible option, when it comes to construction, it'll drop that cost way down.
Yeah, yeah, it's an island. Okay. Okay.
All right, then I'll make a motion, 202-305-08-PSD-A to approve the contract and purchase request VIP 23 PSD 0087 for Choice One Engineering for preliminary design for the parking lot at Beavercreek Library in the amount of $11,500 and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second,
Any discussion?
I would prefer it was, and it's just a psychological thing that it said not to exceed an amount, because it seems like we're writing a check for that amount, but I get it. So either way, it's the same end result. I'm fine.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes. Thank you. You understand where my
Oh,
brain is
I
coming from.
totally agree with
Yeah.
where you're coming from.
Simplicity and just, if it works for McDonald's, it could probably work for the library.
Right.
So, okay.
Thank you, board. And the monthly report is next.
I don't have any other comments.
I have none.
Good report, except,
Is that, oh, I did
go
have
ahead,
one,
I'm sorry, me too, now that I see this.
Go ahead, you go first.
Where to?
Well, I appreciate, now I can read it. On my tablet and the computer, I could not read this April activity report per unit. It was just so small. And now I can see it better. I tried to enlarge it, but it just wouldn't do it. So that makes it better. And then going down farther. This is the first time I've seen, unit numbers, and this is a decent report. It's different.
Well, you can thank Mr. Schroeder for that. He kind of, 2 months ago, went to a different layout, so you could actually see where
The money's
the
going.
money's going.
On certain object, the cars or trucks or, so I appreciate that, Mr. Stroger.
You're welcome.
I noticed it right away and I was like, oh, I like detail, so, very detailed, thank you. I'm sorry.
You're fine. The only question I had was on the ODOC project at Trebine, is that causing any issues for your department?
Not
As far as-
currently.
Okay, either erosion or cleanup or anything like that. And so it was just really just an accountability check to make sure that we
No,
keep that- hold
not
that
currently.
accountable.
Our staff has been added into the weekly updates from ODOT on where they see they're gonna go this week and where they're gonna go next week. One of the things was the lane closure, so you can't go left coming westbound onto Valley.
Yeah, and then the other question was, in our HOAs throughout the township of the unincorporated portion, so, is there this question was asked at a HOA meeting, does the township have a schedule this year of when they would go through the HOAs, or at least assess if any of them need trees lifted above sidewalks and right away for school buses, what we've done in the past, where it's the homeowner's responsibility, but the township went through, and so they were trying to coordinate when the, groups of neighbors should do their tree trimming.
Yeah,
Either to A, have the township do it for them, or B, so they get it done before one side gets cut and the other doesn't.
Yeah, usually that happens late fall into winter.
Okay. So nothing on the books or on the schedule for the spring or early summer, is the short
No,
answer.
there's nothing on the books. One thing I have thought about doing is maybe trying to go to some of these meetings and explain what we need to do. I know in, one of the sub developments we had, when we wanted to go in and trim the trees, there was quite a bit of pushback. But then again,
Yeah,
it's a little hard to explain when somebody's in the heat of the moment and they're meeting you at the curb,
Yeah.
upset about what you're about to do. But, so that's something I'm trying to think about, is to wait and get into some of these meetings so I can have that conversation. So if there's,
And maybe,
Point me in the right
yeah,
direction.
Mr. Rushing, if you're reaching out to HOAs, to find out who their executive boards are, and then, either A, get an opportunity for an annual meeting, but B, if you have a communications director, most of these boards will have somebody who's in charge of communications to the HOA, is maybe get them on a link where you can do a spring and fall reminder, type thing of, hey, it's time to trim your trees. If you don't, you might have a one-sided
You know,
tree.
usually it crops up in the wintertime when the salt trucks are going through. If we can't get back to the curves and the mailman, they're not delivering mail, that's when it usually crops up. Nobody thinks about it in the summer.
Yep.
So then at that point, it's a little late, but that's something to think about,
Okay.
to try to do.
Yep, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next is our Fire Department. Chief Vanderboss is here with a new revised formatting for the monthly report.
Does this one say no problems and no budget requests?
It does say no budget
No
requests.
budget requests.
There are no purchase requests this meeting, so thank you for recognizing that. We appreciate it. Probably the biggest takeaway from tonight's report is this is the first reporting attempt out of our new fire reporting product. So as you recall, you authorized us to spend money to switch to Image Trend. We moved away from Firehouse ESO. That transition is almost complete. We are fully on it for new reports. We're in the process of migrating the last of our historical data into it. This is the continuum product. As you can see, they are proudly advertising across our monthly report. We'll take care of that. But this is their built-in Fireboard report as they have it. So what we'll be doing is going in and modifying it to make it more typical for what we look at and the concerns we have. But what I wanted to do is get the whole thing in front of you. I think it's like 40 different items. If there's ones that you really like and would like to see to continue, if you'd let me know. If there's ones that mean nothing to you, and there should be actually a lot of those, because a lot of them don't make sense because of how our district is set up, we'll get those taken out. But I at least wanted to get a first look in front of you so you can, number one, see we're using it, and then two, we can start tailoring it to your specific interests and concerns. The other thing is that probably at the next meeting, I should have a live link for you, and you'll be able to go in kind of at your leisure and be able to go in and see the live data. So in between meetings, or if a question comes up, you'll be able to go in and get it real time. We'll continue providing the static report on a regular basis for historical record, but you'll have real time information available to you as soon as we have that set up.
Does it's not necessarily data that, at least I don't necessarily need it for these types of meetings, but you might need for your assessment and evaluation as you go forward. So do you have the means, and maybe it was in one of these 40 different reports, I honestly didn't read all 40 of them, my eye went.
I wouldn't have either.
Yeah, the eye
did.
goes to the ones that, appeal to your psyche, which sometimes mine is hard to determine. But as far as calls, so one is calls within or outside of your service district as a township. So mutual aid versus we're servicing our taxpayers.
Correct.
The second is within that, you've got to break down by postal code and then also by jurisdiction. So you've got City of Xenia or City of Fairborn, or they don't necessarily see Xenia Township, but I'm confident we probably went there. Maybe we didn't this period.
No, the problem is, for example, is it only goes by city. So
I
for
saw
us,
zip code and city, yeah, so it would lump
exactly.
even like 45385. You don't know if you're in or out of Xenia Township or
Correct.
Beavercreek Township. So I didn't know if it would dissect that.
We will be dissecting it, but it'll be out of the information that we have in here, but we'll be separating it differently because, for example, they validate everything through USPS, and it's kind of a roll of the dice as to how USPS is going to look at it at any given time.
Yeah.
So we will be using, for example, our response districts. And we have all of our
And that's
response
where I was-
districts broken down between incorporated, unincorporated, and then mutual aid. So yeah, we'll have more detailed information that's very tailored to us. Whereas their product is, there's some things where it just doesn't make sense. Zip code is not meaningful to us in any real way because we share zip codes with our surrounding jurisdictions, and it's kind of a mishmash even within Beavercreek. So
Yeah, and then the second tag along to that would be just more information you need necessarily than what we need, but it'd be interesting to look at it on an annual basis, which is from a call history, how often is 65 going to 63's district? So how, within our own township, how often are they servicing outside of their own?
Yes.
And then that would then, you could interpolate that into, you have more demand than you.
Correct.
Or you have surplus.
Yeah, so
capacity.
reliability is the term, the fire service term for that. How often is the first due district servicing their district versus a second or third due? And what that balance is.
Do they show that in reliability in the,
Not in the, this is a fire board report.
Okay.
And so this is high level, oversight.
Summary.
There's a lot. There's probably 50 to 100 different versions. And so we're drilling down through those. So for example, they have a whole section on accreditation. So Chief Dorson will be able to, once we get those programmed up, he'll be able to pull that in for the standards that cover reliability, distribution, concentration, those things. If they're not built in, are ones we'll take the data that it's collecting and then, we'll do our own calculations for them.
Really, it was more to try to automate as much as you can of your standard of cover.
Absolutely.
So that you don't
Yeah,
have to-
because we want to be able to repeat it on a regular basis and have consistent results.
so one of the things that I thought wasn't relevant was like the district zone maps were not so relevant and the incident by apparatus. I like seeing per station information, but by apparatus, the codes for the apparatus, I wouldn't know that.
Yes, ma'am.
So it was
Good
a key.
information for you or
Yeah.
from
Yeah. So we'll continue to tailor that.
Mr. Parks, Mr. Schroeder.
Like I said, as you have comments, if you could pass those to Mr. Rushing so he can get them to me, I'd appreciate it. And we will
Okay.
continue tailoring it to what you want to see. And then obviously we're doing it for our own staff as well. Because Chief Hawker with billing has a different interest, for example, than Chief Dorson with accreditation. So the information's feeding both of those needs within the organization.
And like page 84, which shows the by station, I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Any other questions on Chief's colorful bi-weekly?
It will be more monochromatic the next time you see it.
I don't see everything.
I like the colors.
Hey, it gives me,
I like green. It's like, no, I'm just kidding.
I like fire department branded colors.
Red is
That's
good.
just-
So,
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Board. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Ms. Frick, any words of wisdom?
Nope, nothing tonight.
Mr. Zaharias?
Follow up on something, Mr. Kretz, you said you had a question about the cemetery. Is there something that I can answer or
I
staff can
did.
answer?
As far as just where are we at? Our whole cemetery project, have we finished that up or we wrapped that up or where do we stand? Do we know where everything's located or where it should be located? And is everything mapped?
You want to go, go ahead. As far as, the lots or columbariums?
The lots, we'll start with, are all the lots inventoried? Do we have good confidence that we know where everyone is or where everyone may be in the future that is
I wouldn't,
reserved?
yeah.
Just one.
I wouldn't say an audit's completed. We are fairly confident with how things stand now. We've been steady, but we've been using graves that we know where they're at. So that side of it, we're fairly confident. As far as a true audit, as far as the whole cemetery, we really haven't completed any of that I know of between staff through the computer system.
What we identified though, in regards to the cemetery, is that there are certain areas that we are no longer selling. So that's why we put it out to the community that right now we're not selling any graves. What we're working on now is, and Mr. Rushing and myself are both sat in with staff, as well as the finance director and the public service department, is looking at the columbarium idea and maybe using some of those areas that we have not going to sell graves in those areas. To
That's
use
good-
some of
good
those
idea.
areas closer to the back towards the courthouse. We even talked about potentially in the future, depending what, on the Phillips property, and I think that's probably end of life, the Phillips House being used as a training center for the fire department, as well as the law enforcement folks. So we're looking at those. So really, when it comes to the columbarium, you can go everything from something nice at 30,000 up to something very nice at over 100,000. So we're going to be putting something together, getting some pricing back, and then reviewing that with staff, and then obviously a recommendation from the fiscal officer what direction we should go.
Yeah, I mean, from that standpoint, as far as what level or what degree you take it to, and just run, I hate to say it, but a return, it's not that you're trying to make money on it, but what will the demand support as far as over a 10-year period? What do you project? What have you not been able to service over the last 5 years? And if you project that forward, if cremations are more affordable and more common and more in demand, then what can you justifiably, and can you do it in a way that's modular that you can add on?
So far, the two meetings that we've had, the market is trending toward columbariums. Cremations are significantly higher, and columbariums are a more advantageous purchase for people. The meetings that we've sat in, we've kept the design fairly standard across the board, so we don't have a lot of there's not going to be a lot of variation depending on how it goes. But from what we've gathered in the meetings, they're built. As Mr. Zahari said, there's 48 unit columbariums all the way up to 96. Like, it's pretty much however you want to design it. So in that regards, and we've talked about it in the meetings, marketing would obviously be a big factor in getting that word out there that we have columbariums. City of Beavercreek has one, and I believe they're getting ready to start another one. I think theirs is only 2 years old, if memory serves. So it seems to be the market is trending that way, and that people are very interested in that. It's a much simpler process.
One other thing that in my new role that we're going to be looking at with the cemetery is potentially a spread garden in that lower level on that hill that goes back on the north end. That's up
Define
to
a spread garden.
So it would be a garden area where you would take ashes and then spread it. So I'm a little concerned with is right now you'll see, and when it comes to cemeteries, they want to do natural burials where they do planting of trees. Unfortunately, long-term wise, if natural disaster hits, then we're responsible for replacing the trees. Or, for example, if it's now listed as a invasive species, we're going to have probably family members concerned about us coming in and cutting down. So one thing we're going to look at is maybe look, and I'm going to got a meeting with can't think of her name right now, the CEO of Beaver Creek Wetlands, to talk about something that we can put down there that is going to, one, not be invasive to the wetlands area, something that they will sign off on as well. And there is a fee for that as well. It's much lower, but there is a fee.
Yeah. The spread garden, I understand the concept. It's something I guess that I just have to look at it as far as, I hate to say it, but a maintenance
That's what we're going to be looking at.
problem.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's an EPA issue necessarily, but
No, the city
it
currently
could
has
take
it.
a lot of different
Currently
directions.
has one, and if you go through it, you don't even know that's what it is. It just looks like planting landscaping area.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Just a couple things from the fiscal officer. As Mr. Sumner made his presentation, we had some investments coming mature. So we did, as you know, last week we had some changes also in the market. I'll talk about that in a second. But we did reinvest some money. It was currently earning interest at 4.5. It's now earning interest at 4.7 with some of the market changes.
Did we go long on it or did we go short?
Yeah, we're doing 9 months on that one. So, in regards to the rate hike last week, as everyone knows, the Fed's already kind of announced that they're going to talk about reduction probably first quarter, January of 2024. So we're going to keep an eye on that as well. And that's all I have for you tonight.
Thank you.
Time for the election. Okay, MVRPC, any update?
Yes, I have several things tonight. The final tip was adopted, and I have it here if you'd like to see it, of all the projects in Greene County. So I brought that with me. Wanted to remind staff that the track applications were being sought for May 1st, and they're due by May 31st. So we have a short time period for track, and wanted to remind you to get that going. And then we had a presentation from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base on the PFAS elimination in the groundwater and the wells, especially on the eastern side of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. That presentation is in slides, and I can provide it to the township trustee to, if anybody wants to read it and look through it. They are being aggressive in the well cleanings up. Most of the problem is on the western edge of the well field of Wright-Patterson towards Dayton. But they do show all the engineering that they're doing to clean that up. And that's all I have on MVRPC.
TAC? Is there anything on TAC?
The agenda is in front of you. Their last meeting was April the 20th.
I wasn't there. I don't know if Max was.
Okay. Greene County Regional Planning, nothing to report yet. Health Department, advisory.
Yeah, your board mail is the information from Mrs. Dean from the Health Department.
School superintendent, city manager, township representative, have you had a meeting with them yet?
Not yet. I have a scheduled meeting this Thursday with school superintendent, and within a couple of weeks, I'll have a meeting with the city manager officially.
Wright-Patterson Air Force Base Restoration Advisory.
I don't have a report. I don't know if Mr. Zaharia has anything carried over.
No, nothing to report from there.
Greene County Township Association.
Our meeting is tomorrow night at 6:30. It's at Cedarville. I had a note where it was. Cedarville Fire Department, I believe. And there'll be Cedarville, Ross, Bath. The 4 townships are hosting. And hopefully you can come.
Investment Oversight Committee, I had nothing, so really what we had last time.
Yeah, we're gonna try to establish a meeting in June with the committee.
Good. Is there anything else to come before the board this evening? Just Frick, you look like you're dying to say something.
No.
Otherwise, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second,
Ms. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Kratz.
yes.
And it's
Thank you.
Cedarville Township Fire Department, 819 South Street, Cedarville, Ohio. Bath, Cedarville, Miami, and Xenia Townships.